Hello, Something Guys and Gals. This is Something Guy 912, once again deviating from the last video I made in regards to WOTC, and right back into the main squeeze of my odd architecture series with D1 underscore canals underscore 03, which should be quite a doozy of a map to cover with how inexplicable, confusing, and nonsensical the map as a whole is to realism. Again, if you aren't in the know, this series has me cover these maps in relation to how realistic they would be, to the best of my own ability, and not based on gameplay. There will be moments where NPC placements will come at odds with the architecture in of themselves, but more or less it's the playable space that I'm most concerned about. With that out of the way, let's delve into this canal once more. Alright, and now we have transitioned into the map, which is one that I've actually been quite excited to cover, because this one is quite a mess in terms of the architectural design. So, starting off, for the moment, there's not anything completely out of the ordinary with this hallway, other than just these noticeable gaps and juts in the hallway. But beyond that, there's not anything particularly weird about this. And then we have this gaggle of just cardboard or, boxes and whatnot just blocking our way. And throughout this map in particular, you'll have these weird boards that are against the wall and on top of the ceiling. And I'm not sure what they're supposed to be here for. I don't know if they're supports or suggested to be some kind of doorway thing. But yeah, they're padded throughout quite a bit. So we'll go out through here, and then through here we'll go through the shack where this dude, talks to us, and, we are introduced to manhacks. Now, obviously this entire little area is designed this way as like a little shack holdout, like hideout area. So, this structure and whatnot, and this structure obviously was made by him or several people, who knows. But what this area served initially, don't really know why this area is as big as it is. And even beyond that, there are some oddities in just this room. Like, for example, we have this great barred like gate thing that is essentially blocking nothing. So why this is here, who knows? And then also we have this ladder here, which this ladder obviously probably was here long before any of this showed up, but this ladder only just goes up to what would have been just this concrete ledge, because all this was built after and not before. Also of note is somehow this dude got electricity running into this area that was not designed for humans to settle in. So that's another interesting little quirk. So that's about it for this area, so we'll keep going on. We go past through here, and again we have more of these, and we have these like narrow like light slits. They'll be more pronounced throughout, and they'll come with increasing confusion and irregularity as we go through the rest of the map. But there's a lot more to point out, so we'll go through more of these weird hallways. I mean, some of the piping here is a little bit odd, but again, I'm not sure what they were supposed to serve. Maybe they served something. And then we have some more manhacks here, and we have this fence door. But if you pay attention, if you notice, this fence door is being held up by nothing. There is not a fence gate to hold it. It is opening and closing by just sheer will. And just standing up by sheer will, too. So go faster here. They're moving around, and there's some more here. One of them lights the barrel, and they all explode and whatnot. You're just supposed to run back. Again, these hallways don't really have anything of note to scrutinize. Not even in relation to the rest of the geometry of the map. Just a few of these juts. And then to the left here we have this partially opened area, but before we go to that, we have this little side passage into this room, and I have no idea what this area was supposed to serve before the Combine took over. I guess this is just a storage place for barrels, like the little alleyway in D1 underscore train station underscore 01. So, yeah, that's just funny. So we'll go out, and then, you know, we go to the side, you know, Combine, show up here, and then there's a few manhacks, I'll fly in. Now, you have these fences and boards, and the matter of which they're placed about is a little bit inconsistent, because obviously these boards are meant for the manhacks to break down so that they can jump you, so you have to essentially double back here and use the fence to guard yourself from manhacks. Even more to the point is these fences that are roofing this area don't even end towards where this ledge, this little concrete ledge would be. Like, you have this weird gap here. And then, not to mention, inside here you have this weird, like, ledge into this, like... It almost makes me think this is, like, an area for somebody to put, like, pots and plants in? Or maybe, like, assuming that, like, rainfall or whatever falls in, like, it would fall in from the gap between this fence and here and then fall in here, so that people weren't just walking in the trash. But, I mean, that's about as best of a guess I have as to why this little lip is here. Also, keep of note, obviously these areas that are out of bounds, obviously not particularly well detailed, but these will be important for certain other design elements that we can see in bounds that will collide with those things. But yeah, just keep a mental note of that. And then we open the door. I don't know why I'm moving these physically when I can just clip right through them. Just close the door. We have this little weird jut that just seems to only exist for the sake of this barrel to be here. And this barrel will be here for the cop that shows up just out of nowhere, so we can just kill him easily with this barrel once we get out of the little vent here. And as another note, of course, there is another human-sized vent. Oh. That wasn't supposed to happen. I was just trying to break the vent. I didn't think I could break the geometry around it. So I guess that's another oddity, is that you can, for some reason, break the little metal around the vent, but not the vent itself. So you can just have a floating vent. This vent, too, also has a peculiar red light. And I think there's another vent later in this map. And I think one way later into, like, the Nova Prospect chapter that has these red lights. But I think a good majority of these vents that you crawl into do not have this. So I don't know why this is, like, such a note. I guess they wanted the developers for you to notice the vent by this red light, maybe. That's my only guess. So anyway, we'll go into... Ooh, shit, I clipped through way too far. We'll go into the vent, and obviously a manhap will show up. We have to fight it in this little thing. I'm just going to shoot it because even though I have no target on me, it can still hurt me. Just get rid of him. And like in D1 underscore canals 01, this vent is venting nothing because it just vents right into this little cubby with some goodies here. And then obviously this door doesn't lead to anything, but it could lead to something because obviously this geometry is not well designed, so, or not, it's not leading into anything, but it could lead into something if they had put more time into it. But obviously they're not going to put time into something that nobody's going to see. But what is odd about this is you walk out, you have this little spiral staircase that ends at this grate, but assuming that a door would have been here or just be open, it would just lead immediately into a drop down on this ledge. So why was there a staircase here? I don't know. Maybe some kind of catwalk was supposed to lead between here, but there's not any debris to suggest that, and it would kind of collide with this ladder to drop down from too. So yeah. Anyway, we'll drop down here. There'll be some CP officers with machine guns. You know, you'll get your first taste of having the machine gun. And then we have these, I guess you could call them wells or holes. Before talking about the well itself, we have some more, like, inexplicable choice of, like, concrete ledges here. like they're designed in such a way that they're not really supporting or doing anything. Like this almost seems like it almost seems over designed, weirdly enough. Like I feel like if this was just cut, like it'd probably make this a little bit more cohesive. But anyway, more to the point, these holes, now if you remember what I said about those roads, if we clip out, you'll notice that you have these light poles here, and you have this like barrier. So the suggestion is that a road would have come through here. So there's just these big giant holes in front of these, at the base of what would be a road for these CP officers to rappel down, and it's consistent with this hole too. And not to mention the fact that this fence is directly colliding with what would be a road as well, and what would be this piece of wall here. So yeah, that's just another interesting thing. And another interesting thing, I'm sure this is not like a big secret, like people have played this game enough, but there's this little secret here. You can crawl in through here, and you can get access to a very early grenade. You only get one grenade though, but you do get access to an early grenade much sooner than you would normally get. And you also interact with you have to fight a zombie torso. Although for some reason when I tested this on Gary's mod, for some reason the torso doesn't spawn in here, and I think it's because I didn't actually crawl in. And then when you crawl back out, there'll be another CP officer with a machine gun that you can kill with one of these barrels, if you manage to not blow up that one earlier to kill this one. So, just a fun little Easter egg thing if you needed a grenade early for whatever reason. So, we'll go out here into a turbine, weirdly enough, in a canal system that has extremely static water, even if this area was like filled to the level that it probably is, suggested by, again, SV Riley, or Commander SV, or Riley SV, or Commander Riley SV's interpretation of this portion of the canals. But yeah, it would basically, like, it's not doing anything. Like, it's not moving water to something else to provide energy. So why this is here, who knows? It's just extremely gamey, because obviously this is just here so that it's not as simple for you to swim underwater into this little duct here and go to the other side of this turbine area. So we'll go underwater, and we will go to the first little pocket of air, and we have another one of these air slits. And what's interesting is this little angular portion actually is designed in such a way to coincide with the little pipe area we'll get to later in the match, or later in the game. But as you can also tell, is that while it is cohesive, the concrete that would be between these two things is essentially razor thin. Like practically like maybe an inch or like a millimeter of concrete is between the two of them. So yeah, we'll go further down and out into the second little gap of air. And we have another one of these little air slits, but this one is noticeably odd, because if we go up, it collides directly into some geography of a building. So that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, because what light is coming through from there? Like somebody's like toilet or bathroom or something? Like who knows? And then we'll jump out, and now we're on the other side of that little caged off area. More CP officers you gotta kill and whatnot. There's a barnacle here, and this little staircase with a balcony, which this balcony area kind of reminds me of the little balcony at the beginning of D1_Canals 2, before you deal with the ship. The thing that's a little bit odd to me about this setup is there's really only one other way to get here, which was to essentially swim directly underwater through a turbine system, beyond just, the fact of this door being here. And I mean, there's enough geography that this could be interpreted to be useful for something, but for what, I don't know. But obviously there's not geography to lead it into a different portion of the canal system. So really, your only option is to directly swim underwater or somehow walk across this pipeline. So, with that, we will continue through into walking through the pipeline, as you are expected to do. And the pipeline itself is mostly cohesive, even if getting to this pipeline was a little bit odd. I suppose this little open gap area doesn't really make a whole lot of sense if this was an area that wasn't really designed with people walking through it. Further to the point, you got this little section that is blocked off by this, more of these iron bars, but for some reason it only covers on the top half portion of the pipe. Because obviously they want you to break these boards and then go underneath here to some more supplies. You get an SMG grenade and some ammo, and then this area basically doesn't have anything to it, but obviously this little section would make sense to not have anything to it since it's just pipes. And obviously they didn't really have people in mind to go through here. But again, it's just kind of more to the point that it doesn't really make sense for this grate to be only designed halfway up. And now that I'm seeing it, you also notice that it extends way beyond the curvature, the archway of the concrete, so it comes off as even more awkward. But there is something about this bar that is very very peculiar to me, but I can understand why they did it the way they did it. We'll get to that in a moment. So you got to crawl through this weird rubble thing, and there's this conveniently human-sized little crawl space to go once again into water and then back out the other side of the turbine into basically the barrel truck section of the map. And then they'll blow up and whatnot. Boom, boom, boom. You need to shoot them down, and whatever. Now, it is interesting that there's a ladder here, and there was a little area to swim underneath to suggest that they would expect, before the Combine took over this place, that there was almost a suggestion that somebody would go through this area and examine the area like this. But I really doubt people before the Combine took over would have done something like this. Alright, moving on. So we have these little miniature bridges with these railings, but if we go up, you can see that if they were more conveyed, they would either be directly colliding with other things, or essentially be impossible or just impractical for somebody to walk over. You have more of these road barriers, so you have a bridge that would essentially be on this little lip here for some reason, or here with the just the small amount of walkable space to get to these railings. And not to mention too, these railings are kind of humorous to me because they all have this 1891 stamped 3 times over on all of these. So I am kind of curious where they took this particular texture from, because I don't think this is reused in any other part of the canals maps, or even City 17 for that matter. So we will go through here. We're going to go back inside. You have more of these weird kind of nooks and crannies and whatnot. I mean, I guess there's these grates here that would probably make this a little bit more sensical, but still a little bit odd. And going back to a point that I was going to say for later, these are not textured to fit with this map's geometry. They are directly clipping because it's the same grate design. And they just essentially covered them up with concrete to essentially make it easier for them to not have to make a completely unique texture to fit with the geometry of the concrete. So it's just very interesting the kind of shortcuts that you can kind of take to make something somewhat like believable. And you can see that too with the let me see if I can get back to it. The yeah, this half section, the half section of the grate is just like poking out way up here. And that, you know, again, it was just a compromise they did just for the sake of not having to make a completely unique bar system. And then again, you have more manhacks. You have another fence door that is being held up by nothing and is just opening by sheer will. And even more to the point is the little doorway thing that's holding this door has this weird lip here for some reason. Like, I don't know why that's there. I guess, like, again, they probably just had to do that as just a quick compromise to not have it directly conflict with the little curved archway that's fitting this pipe here. So that's something. And then again, you have more of these weird wooden, like, support beam barriers or whatever. And then we keep walking, and it inexplicably ends in just an empty room to another human-sized vent with these ominous red lights. I don't know why this is designed this way. I don't know why an engineer would need this little room here for. It seems to be just useless. And more to the point, this vent, again, is venting nothing since it just goes directly down. And then we'll break that, and we'll go into probably one of the most incomprehensible rooms in this series that I have covered thus far. Like, you have people call this room the Manhack room or the Barrel facility. Either way, yeah, and, you know, they just did it, but, obviously I'm invincible, so it doesn't really matter. So, you have these barrels that were stored up here simply for the sake of being blown up. But even if they weren't there for the sake of being blown up, they're basically, like, there's no way for somebody to essentially take them off of the shelves because of their height, as well as the fact that you have this graded floor and then these extremely angular, like, portions here. So they're not really serving much of a purpose. And then climbing up to this, like, balcony or whatever, you have a balcony that is directly clipping in with a pipe, so I don't know why there'd be a pipe that'd be directly in the way of somebody walking in here. And then more to the point, the balcony is blocked by this extremely low poly, like, fence mesh. Like, it feels like they just kind of slapped this on here just so that you couldn't just get to the other side, because I guess they wanted you to have to climb up this ladder to get on top of the pipe here. But I don't know why this ladder would be designed in a way for somebody to just go up on this pipe, as though this is the intended way to get to the other side of the balcony. Also of note is that this this pipe leads into this, like, kind of weirdly vacant room. Like, there's really nothing here. I don't know why this is so open like this, as opposed to just being made to just accommodate the pipe. And the pipe goes up directly into the room that we just got in from the vent. The vent that is venting nothing. Get rid of that noise. So you got that. And then you also have these weird, like, cubbies here for the balcony. But, like, you have some parts of the balcony that have, like, concrete in them, but other parts that don't, and then other parts that are partially filled in with concrete. So there's just absolutely no consistency between, like, what parts is going to have, like, geometry or not, or structural integrity for that matter. And then more to the point is that, like with TF2, this map has signs that don't make any sense, like, caution, this equipment starts and stops automatically. What equipment? There's not, like, a machine that is going off, like, automatically. There's no barrels, there's no forklift. And there's two of them. There's just two of them here. But there's no way, like, there's no way that somebody could, like, assume any of this to be equipment that starts and stops automatically. And even more weird, and this is something I just discovered from watching other videos, just about, like, the weird secrets of, like secret nukes and whatnot, is this little vent that the manhacks come out from. You can climb up here, and there are there's a soup battery here. Why? I don't know. Like, I don't know why they would have expected a developer had to take time out of their day to put that there, expecting somebody to grab it. Why? I don't know. It's so weird that they would have put in the effort to that, because would have not assumed that there would have been something at the end there, and that vent just only existed for the sake of the manhacks to spawn in and ambush you. So, with that craziness out of the way, we'll walk over to this hallway to the other side with the area that you got to fill up the water with. And you have a series of pipes that are just thrown in higgledy-piggledy. There is no consistency between what they are serving, what they are doing, and they collide with each other and are not consistent with their shape or their condition. Like, you have white pipes colliding directly into brown pipes, you have rusted pipes colliding in with white pipes, and brown pipes colliding in with other brown pipes. Like, you got that part here, there's this section of white pipe just colliding in with these brown pipes. It's like an MC Escher painting, or like those like Windows screensavers where it would just auto-generate a bunch of just random like pipes that would just collide with one another inexplicably. So obviously you got to climb down and you have to get to the valve, but the valve is in a place that is essentially unreachable by normal means, whether or not this area is run down or not, because the only part of this like balcony that is run down is this broken piece of the catwalk. But the catwalk would essentially, if it was complete, it would still be basically at this level. So somebody would have to essentially drop down from this inexplicable malaise of pipes to get to this valve. And again, it's just it's designed that way deliberately for gameplay's sake. It's not really practical in any conceivable sense. And not to mention, I'm not sure like why this pipe is specifically filled up with water. You know, like, where is it like pouring out from? There's not like a hole or anything. We're just supposed to just kind of take it at face value that turning this valve somehow like opens something to fill it up. I mean, I'll just do it as a showcase. And then we'll go out from the other side, and after doing that, there'll be some more manhacks that'll, there's some more manhacks that'll assault us. We're just gonna go down here, and obviously that's what is also interesting is the fact that you have these red lights in this pipe that, like, I'm just trying to imagine like some poor engineer having to swim underneath this pipe to inspect it or to get to the other side of this, because the other side is blocked by similar geometry to the turbine section and the barrel truck section. So we'll go out from the water, and there's this ladder that goes to this ledge, but the ledge obviously is not like reachable to anything. Like, if this weird barrier thing wasn't here, this would probably make a little bit more sense for this ladder to be here, but even so, I think there would be another set of ladders here to the other side of this ledge. And then going down, we have the little section where you have to shoot out these boards and pull up these wire spools. I mean, if you're good enough in terms of like running across, you can just run and jump across. Oh, wait, hold on. Obviously, it's easier to do on Gmod, but you can actually do this in Half-Life 2. I've done it several times to just speed up instead of trying to shoot those stupid barrel boards, but it doesn't really make a lot of sense for these wire spools and cardboard to be submerged and blocked by these barrels with these pipes, you know? Because, like, assuming that this section was, like, submerged for this long, I feel like all of this would have been heavily rotted out. Because it's water. That's what water does. So, yeah. And then, not to mention the fact that, of course, like, a lot of the little ledges do not have railings to keep somebody from falling down. Because, assuming that this wasn't filled, they would fall to their death from this height. Because, I mean, obviously there's railings here to suggest that there were railings, but obviously there's not really any signs of where those railings went, falling off from. And then one last little thing is this ledge tapers off into this little angle for some reason. And I kind of feel like with the relative size of this, as well as the rest of how the concrete's kind of designed, this is kind of like a liability in the case, like, in the event of an earthquake, for example. Like, it doesn't really make sense for this to taper off like this, as opposed to just essentially having the geography go straight down here. And then, with that is effectively it for D1_canals_03. And that was that for D1_canals_03, and as I stated, this one was going to take considerably longer for me to cover with its size and with just how much there was to discover in terms of its architectural oddities. Tune in next time for the last map in the Root Canal chapter.